Welcome to class. Welcome back to yearly class with Mrs. Ashaolu. How are you today? I hope you're doing great. So good to have you in class once again. All right, today we'll be looking at how to identify your theme in any work of art. How to identify your theme in any work of art. Are you ready to go on this journey with me? After today's class, you will be able to identify the theme, the major theme, the sub-theme of any work of art, be it prose, drama, or poetry. All right, let's go on this ride together. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it. All right, let's go. How to identify a theme in literary text. You need to understand something, that literary works are used to entertain, to teach morals, to convey meaning, to pass down generational customs and values, and more importantly, to make the reader aware of some aspect of the human condition. And this can only be done through work whereby the writer creatively share their ideas and express their own opinion, theme that are timeless and universal. For instance, if you look at these two examples that I have on my screen, let's read the two examples and compare them. A 15-year-old boy in an American suburban high school who has not made a basketball team knows the experience of disappointment, but so does a 70-year-old grandmother whose family does not come home for the holidays. You know, that kind of disappointment, the loneliness, the boredom, all of those. So each character story might detail the events of how they move from disappointment to contentment. These stories have a similar theme, even though the details of the story are expressed differently. Either scenario could express the theme of overcoming disappointment and hurt, yet each in a unique way. So having read these two scenarios, you can see that they're expressing the same theme, despite the fact that they don't have the same details. That is what can happen to any literary work of art. You've seen so many stories about disobedience, you've seen so many stories about obedience, different genres, but the same theme. Yes, you can have that in any work of art. So could you connect with either of these characters? Why? You need to get into the habit of asking yourself how and why questions as you move through the details of a literary selection. Once you pick up a book to read, please always ask yourself, why is this happening? What is going on? How is it happening? So once you're used to these questions, it will pop up ideas in your heart and mind and lead you to the path of theme, the theme identification. So furthermore, certain themes can be understood by people regardless of age, gender, geography, or culture. No restriction. The commonality makes them universal. Universal theme developed in a story, a poem, or play ultimately expand the reader's knowledge of being human by the expression of experiences through different perspectives. We pick up on a particular theme, say corruption. A poet wrote on corruption, another playwright writes on corruption, then a novelist also writes on a particular story with the theme corruption. All of them are saying or talking about the same thing in different ways. So your scope of that particular subject is broadened already. And then you understand better, all right? So common themes include loneliness. We can have theme on loneliness, oppression, repression, transformation, good versus evil, struggle and accomplishment, death, rebirth, initiation, redemption, and free will. So all of those things are beautiful. You can also have your theme as love, hatred, wickedness, corruption, just like I mentioned aforetime. So all of this can be a theme. The careful examination of these tools is a part of literary analysis. By observing how the tools are being used individually and by critically thinking about how they relate to one another to construct the expression of theme. The reader pushes beneath the surface details to discover the literature's deeper meaning. You don't just stay on the surface. Oh, the man is the father of the child, and that's all you know. You cannot even interpret what it means. You have to break it down. What's the figure of speech used there? How do we identify the deeper meaning? So you do not stay on the surface level. Too many students make this mistake of never moving past the surface details. Focusing only on the surface details results in summary, not literary analysis. So if you want to do a proper analysis, you have to go beyond the surface meaning. Just like a scientist would do, all right? You will have a specimen and then prove an hypothesis, and then just like that, the literary analyst has a thesis to prove. Like a scientist who methodically proves separate aspects of a specimen, such as its appearance, its movement, and responses to environmental factors. You are expected to make careful observation of the individual parts of a literary piece. This examination takes time and concentrated effort, but you have to do it so that you can break down the words, the diction used, the theme, the setting, the characters, all of them to prove the point of your theme. All right? To uncover theme and meanings, you have to begin the analysis by making verifiable observations. What are you noticing? Who is the major character? What's the story all about? Can you summarize it? You need to make all these observations to arrive at the theme. So observations that are verifiable are those that can be pointed out and agreed upon by others, all right? These observations are the raw data of literary analysis. They are objective facts, and objective facts are the third-person accounts that indicate who is doing what in the story or poem, all right? They establish the when, they confirm the where. That means you can tell when the action is taking place, where the action is taking place. And you know that we've done setting, plot structure. You need to put all of this into action. Where is the setting? What is the plot structure? Who is the protagonist? You have to ask yourself. So they recognize interesting keywords and repetitions. They record character dialogue, and then they note specific devices used by the poet. What's the diction of this word? Is the language, is the tone mild? Is it harsh? You ask yourself all these questions. Is the language simple enough to understand by anybody? You ask yourself. So you keep in mind that the author made a decision about each of these objective elements. So your role as the reader or the analyst is to determine why these creative decisions were specifically made. And once you're doing that, you're one way and one step to the theme. So what do we do? Number one, you note the plot and the literary elements that are used. Taught you literary elements that covers up to point of view, literary devices, all of those. So pay attention to the plot structure, and then that will cover for introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. All right, analyze the characterization, the setting, the tone, and language style that are used throughout the work. Consider the conflict that arises in the story and how they are resolved. The turning points and key moments in the story can also provide insight to the underlying theme. So pay attention to the plot structure and then the literary devices used in that story or any of the work of art you're considering. Then the next thing is identify the subject. What's the subject of the work that you're working on? Summarize the work in a sentence or two. Focus on the central topic, all right? Or the subject matter. What is the story primarily about? Can you pick something that, oh, this is exactly what the story is all about? This step helps you to distill the essence of the narrative, and then you can provide a starting point for exploring the deeper theme. So identify your subject. It will lead you to where you're going. Then the third thing to do is to identify your protagonist, and then how is the character developing. Identify the main character. You remember the main character is your protagonist. So identify the main character, and analyze their journey. Analyze their journey through the story. How do they change and evolve as a result of the events and conflicts they face? Consider how the protagonist's action, decisions, and interaction with other characters contribute to the overall theme. Is he in conflict with other characters? How is he faring in all the scenes and the heart? Ask yourself. This will contribute to the overall theme, all right? And then the fourth thing to do is to assess the author's point of view. Don't forget that we've done this in class. We've done point of view, and we've also identified the different narrative techniques. The first person, it's in third person, which is also called omniscient narrative technique. Examine the author's perspective on the characters and their choices. Look for clues in the way characters are portrayed and the language the author uses to describe them. Consider any significant quotes or moments that stand out in terms of thematic preoccupation or significance, all right? Analyze the author's view on the resolution of conflict and how it aligns with the overall message that they are conveying. So his own point of view, the tone at which he's expressing it, the mood of the story being told will tell you what the theme is all about. And we can always have a major theme where every other sub-theme will be a fracture of the major theme, all right? We have, for instance, if we have religion as the major theme, then obviously we'll have Christian religion, traditional religion, and then the Islamic religion has sub-theme under it. But do not forget that the major theme there would be what? Religion. So that should be easy with the major theme and the sub-theme. All right. I hope you've learned. Do you have any question? Kindly drop your questions if you have them. Drop them in the chat box and I will attend to them. Thank you for coming to class today. Have a good day. Bye.